On this episode of Shannon Ayers Speaks,
we want to welcome the absolute beautiful, iconic Lynn Whitfield to Hello Beautiful.
It's really important to love ourselves, where we are. Your next steps are only yours. They're nobody else's next steps. They're only yours. But I knew if I have sex with this man and I'm trying to do this role, it's gonna throw me off. I'm gonna mess up. It's gonna weaken my game. 30 years later is, oh my God, I'm going to do some sit-ups right now. Am I getting paid to do this? This is God shows up, magic happens, into something I've always wanted to do. And people, so a blessing that I am God's child. So, and God is king. So I gotta at least be a princess.
Love. How does Lynn define self-love? We want to welcome the absolute beautiful, iconic Lynn Whitfield to Hello Beautiful. Welcome, Lynn. Welcome.
Hi, Shannon.
It is so awesome to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much. I love Hello Beautiful.
Yay. I'm so glad. I mean, everybody knows who you are. To have you sitting right here and to look at you now was just like to look at you years ago. You don't age. Really, you don't. This not fluff. It's not.
But I'm telling you, if you go on my Instagram, I posted a throwback on this past Thursday, and I looked at myself. I was like, wow, that's like, what it made me realize is that so often, and I think women do it all the time, like we can be really in the best space and, looking like $1 million and not knowing it, you know? And so I looked at that picture and I swear it's my most popular post I've ever put up. All the comments were so sweet and everything, but I said, doggone it, if I'm getting this much response, I think I'm gonna try to get back to it. It was when I was in my highlights period and all of that. So to you, it's like, and to people, the public, it's like, oh, not a minute older or whatever, but each and every one of us as women, we notice every little thing. And so I'm kind of excited because just from that photo this past Thursday, I'm like, okay, I am going to, it's like goals, not to be that, but to be, the best I can be now, And so I'm going to start working on it and getting my little program together. I'm kind of excited to do it.
Well, I tell you what, you hit the nail dead on the head. Because likewise, I look at pictures of myself when I was like the harshest critic of myself. And then I look and like, oh, well, can I just go back there? I'll appreciate her a little bit more than what I did then.
Yes. I mean, everybody viewing tonight, you heard it from Shannon, and I really am telling you to appreciate the moment that you're in. Is so important because we can never get it back, right? We can, like now I'm looking back at a photograph and say, okay, should I get highlights again? Okay, I'm gonna do a few sit-ups, get that weight down, but wow, it was like so good. So it's really important to love ourselves, where we are.
That is so true. Hello Beautiful is all about encouraging women and girls to understand their beauty by design and know their worth. And
Yes.
that's why we wanted you here today because, we see you on film, we see you on screen, and I've never seen you in a bad light ever, but
Aw.
no, really, you've always been beautiful. You've always been stunning. But I know, which is again why I do this, is because regular people, everyday, everyday women, I want them to find themselves in you, because a lot of times when we look in the mirror, we don't like what we see. And most times other people can see the better parts of ourselves than we can see ourselves. You know what I mean? I'm looking at you like, you don't need to lose a pound. You don't need to highlight nothing. You don't need to pop nothing.
So here's the thing. I think it's important to love ourselves where we are. And the flip side of that is that the truth of what we think of ourselves, the truth of the effort that we put forth, and it doesn't just have to be about external things, like what we look like, or whether our butts look like the butts on Instagram. It has to do with spiritual practice. Like, how often are we really doing what we know works for us to be, the best we can be? Or it has to do with, us being honest with ourselves.
Yes.
But not being critical of ourselves, just using the check-in of, the checkpoints. Am I meditating enough? Am I really working towards my goals enough? Because that then, without criticism, it's just about, because life is just a series of adjustments, resets and adjustments. Like, okay, let me reset because I got off track, or wow, I am doing great. What did I do to get this far? Let me keep that practice going. So checking in is good, but beating ourselves up, criticizing ourselves, not appreciating ourselves is where we get into trouble, because then we're climbing out of an entire huge, deep ditch of negative thoughts that, it takes time to climb out. And the time we're climbing out, we could be like moving forward, but everybody goes through it. It's nobody is kind of exempt from having to reset and say, wait a minute, I think I am like on this track. And I wish I had my little black velvet heart that I made, it's just such a good reminder of checking in on our hearts and staying strong, keeping that connection strong.
That is absolutely true. I know just from personal experience, like you said, we beat ourselves up a lot, and we're always trying to live up to somebody else's standard. And if they're going through a bad time, then you're trying to beat something that's not perfect anyway, as opposed to working on her on the inside.
Well, look, there is nobody who is perfect. And, everybody's criticism of you is subjective.
Yes.
Constructive criticism is different. And I feel in constructive criticism, which I have to take all the time as an actress, right? It's like directors give you notes. You can always tell the difference, I think, because in just somebody criticizing you, it's you feel a weight, you feel like something taking you down. Constructive criticism is to build you up. And I would say constructive criticism is more like, well, if you just adjust it and just turned a little bit more that way and then took that step forward, I think you might get there faster. That's different, so to be able to, well, that's what they talk about that in the Bible, right? Every spiritual practice talks about discernment, right? Discerning what you're hearing, discerning what you're seeing, discernment in where you are. Like, does this person mean me harm, or do they want the best for me? And those evaluations, you know, girlfriends in the work environment, boyfriends, husbands, even, that discernment, which is so important to really tune your ears to hear, is this for my good? Or is this something to make me feel bad? And when you know that it's something for your good, you can hear the love in it. You can hear the desire for you to really make your goal. Then, I try to keep those people close.
Absolutely.
The people who I trust like that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And speaking of adjustments, how has it been for you over this last year with the pandemic and now the new virtual world that we knew it was already there, but now it really is there? And
oh my goodness, I'm telling you, it's been an interesting ride for sure. Because when this pandemic started, we didn't know that it would be going on for a year. So if I had known that, I probably would have really freaked out. But I had been so busy. And we, just finished Greenleaf, and we'd been doing lots of press and event after event after event. And so I really kind of relished the first 4 months or so. And then my daughter Grace came and we were quarantining together. And then in, what was it? Late August, I brought my 88-year-old mother here. And she actually had her 89th birthday here with me. And so we had 3 generations of fairly complex, very lively, interesting women with great senses of humor, all in one house. And it was so funny because, to my daughter, in my daughter's eyes, Grace, who's a millennial, like her Grammy can do no wrong,
Element girl.
What is in my element, Grace?
Looking fabulous.
Well, then I have been in my element all of my adult life.
And she just spoils her, and just loves her up. And, mom is a tough, hardworking Southern belle, who's decided, she's sitting down.
Louisiana girl.
So I'm like, Mom, and she has her walker. And sometimes when she's tired, but I'm like, Mom, come on, get up. And she's like, oh, baby, just bring Mama the water. I don't feel like going. And of course, so I turn into like the 15-year-old. Mom, you can do it. Come on, Mom. I'm that. And Grace is like, okay, Grammy. Oh, I love my grandchild. She understands. It was like, go way, way back in October when we're done, or anybody who wants to, like September, October, and August in my Instagram, you will see, we did skits. We have she is so crazy. It was so crazy. So that part was really a lot of work, but a lot of fun. And now we went through the holidays. That was okay, pretty strange. Virtual Christmas is crazy. And now I'm just revving up to get my whole team together and changing up my creative team and getting ready, because I'm positively believing that things are about to get better,
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. When you think about being born and raised in Louisiana, as one Louisiana girl to another.
Yes.
life for us is a little different.
It is, people don't understand. Louisiana people, and particularly Louisiana women, they broke the mold on that. You're not gonna, a Louisiana woman when I went to the grocery store, right? And I was ordering, I was at the seafood counter, I was ordering some seafood, some fish. And a woman walked up and said, "Oh, baby, what do I want to eat today? I don't know. Let me see. Let me see it, turn it over." And this was someone who worked in another department.
Yes.
She said, that looks pretty good. Okay, I'll have that. I said, "You've got to be from Louisiana." She said, "Yeah, baby."
That's what we do, boo.
That's it, honey. She was looking at that fish like she was about to buy a 10-carat diamond and trying to decide, let's see, are the facets good? It was so, I don't really think that I would have been able to put some of the nuances on women that I played, all the way back to Josephine Baker.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Brandy Webb too, in Thin Line. We know that.
We love Brandy. Brandy was a little off.
But there are many Louisiana women who helped inform that.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. There's a Louisiana women, California women, Georgia women.
And definitely Lady Mae, just there's a certain kind of flavor, certain kind of lilt, and I don't care who, a certain kind of poise, and even if we're insecure, whatever, it's something where we're like a little bit more comfortable in our own skin in some way, I can't put my finger on it, but I know that every character that I've played pretty much, I was able to pull something from the experience of being from Louisiana.
I can imagine. And so that brings me to another question. How was young Lynn from Louisiana compared to Lynn now at this point in your career?
It was a natural progression. I think, if anything, the biggest change is not being in a safe environment where everybody knows your mom and your dad and who your people are and all of that. Hitting, Los Angeles, and nobody knowing who I was, Dr. Butler's granddaughter, they don't care about any of that. So I think the biggest change, and I'm still learning it, because from the outside, people say, wow, Lynn Whitfield, she's done this, she's iconic and all, but there's something like making a transition from being a big fish in a small pond to being an okay sized fish in a big pond. It's an adjustment, right? So there's that, right? So there was a sense of knowingness in Louisiana that, when you hit the big world, you've got to make that space for yourself. So that's different. And then when I look back at pictures, of myself as the little Lenny, it's kind of a natural progression.
Do you think you're the same person that just
Absolutely. I am really, I am the same person. I always had, I still don't understand, and I think I probably need to understand the value in that term of reinventing yourself. I never, if it's like, change a hairstyle and all of that, I could do more of that too. But if to change my basic self, principles, sense of humor, sense of family, charm, glamour, I mean, all of that I've had the whole time, right? Along with baggage, that of course we all have baggage. I mean, you can't get to be a grown person without baggage. And it's so funny because, you're like, this happened to me when I was a little girl, or dad did this, or mom did that, or, or a boyfriend did this, or my girlfriends ignored me, all those kinds of things. I just want to let everybody know that everybody has them. And so our job to be and stay as cool as we know we really are is to get rid of some of that stuff,
Yeah. You know what? And then so as you're talking and I'm thinking, I mean, you were simply exquisite is about the only word that can come to mind in Josephine Baker. And
Thank you.
that came out, and I mean, you made me know her. You made me
Aww.
in an intimate way and in a humanizing way. How does Lynn Whitfield get into the mindset and the space of Josephine Baker in terms of everything that because you were everything that she was. It was like all wrapped up into this beautiful package, but it was beautiful. It was flawed. It was, she was all these things, but you were to Josephine Baker what Denzel Washington was to Malcolm X.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That's such a beautiful compliment. Well, acting is, nobody would think of being a ballerina without going to ballet class and, doing a bar every day. I mean, you can't do those triple pirouettes and lay out in an arabesque and hold it without technique, right? So I had to really study her, So I read a lot about her. And when I really started understanding her best, though, it's so bizarre. It was through moving images and still images, because you can tell so much about a human being through their body language, through the moments when she didn't know a camera was on her. And I remember after I'd read everything, she went on this tour on tour with this, Black troupe from Harlem to France, and somebody, made her an offer. Look, you can do this, and if this, well, what ended up being, exotic dancing, but so naive and all that. And I started to see in film of her that she was always like, ooh, ooh, and it was like being that kind of thing. And so I said, well, she really wants people to love her, because when you're, little girls do it all the time. I just want another one, mommy, And so I said, she was not just seeking fame, she was seeking love and acceptance because of everything she went through. So I found that in her body language. And then moments where she didn't think the camera was on her, I saw her like kind of, there were moments where you saw her looking around like, are they buying it? Do they love me? And really looking like she was kind of alone with all of this fabulous life she created for herself. So that's just an example of what I could gather just from film and still images of her. And then I had to, really work on the psychological and emotional part. Like, here's a kid who experienced the race riot of St. Louis, who was dirt poor, who, went to Harlem and made a space for herself in a matter of months, that she was a part of that troupe, and then got there and said, I'm going to try this out. Because at that time, for a woman, to who wasn't a prostitute or anything, to actually disrobe and do what she did, that was big stuff. And when you see her do it, she doesn't look like a stripper. She looks like, I likened it to Eve in the Garden of Eden, because she didn't look vulgar. She just looked joyful. And I said, so she found some kind of freedom in this. So then I had to find some kind of freedom in it, and on and on, to the point that she was stubborn and wouldn't listen and started to believe our own hype and, all of that. So it's all the homework of who is this person emotionally, psychologically, and in the physical world. What do they want and how are they going to get it? So it's just all those acting questions that you ask yourself, and then allowing, the magic to happen and letting God do his work within my instrument. And so it's a process, and it's almost like a metaphysical process. So it's hard to talk about how you do it,
Well, I mean, and it showed it. I mean, really. And I was fairly young when I saw that, and I was mesmerized, and I really was. And okay, of course, we understand, the world that we're living in, and she's running around topless, and I get that. But you hit the nail dead on the head, because I think for her, not that I'm advocating for women to walk around with their tops on, but for her, you can tell she was in a different space in terms of what you were able to convey to the world that she was. And it was almost like saying some things like, I am more than just my breast. I am more than just these things.
She did it like I am a work of art. And she did it with a sense of humor. And she didn't, like I said, when you look at the actual footage, not me, the actual footage, I mean, she's crossing her eyes and doing the Charleston, and the kind of frolicking freedom is in fact, you can't control what people think, but the joy that she found in breaking this new ground and creating something that had not been done before, she was the most powerful, most popular woman in the world. So I think it has to do sometimes with the spirit, because I did it. I walked her steps, and sometimes I say, God, everybody, is so much respect, and they talk about me like this icon. Don't they remember I was sexy too? Like, people, that's not even what stuck with people.
And I will say this, I can say this as an onlooker. You would be surprised. And it goes back into say, there was something about, and this is why I likened it to what Denzel Washington brought to Malcolm X, because you almost forget that they're two different people. And there was a certain element of beauty in her from the beginning all the way through the end, even though she had to, kind of have everything, then lose everything, and still find herself in the end. There is a certain attractiveness or sexiness, if you will, a certain beauty, an element of really inside coming out, as opposed to outside not knowing what's going on the inside.
Right. That was the goal, that you would feel what was going on inside her as she entered this world. So yeah, so I understand what you said, not advocating, because it's different when it's just a lot of what we're seeing right now in contemporary nudity. I think there's a different spirit, and it's a different time in the world, and there's a whole different sensibility about it. I mean, she was singing J. du Zemmour, and now that's not actually the kind of music that women are dropping it like it's hot to, it's something different. So, and that's why kind of understanding, I think, history and where women have fit, and the progression of that brought us to where we are. I think, just a little bit of that, without, actually going and taking a history class, or, is nice to know, because we can always, take something from history and use it well.
Hey guys, I hope you are absolutely enjoying Lynn. She is just simply fabulous. Do me a favor and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified on all of our future releases. Please, by all means, leave a comment on this video and let Lynn know just how fabulous you know she is. Thank you guys so much for watching. Now back to the show. There was a part in Medea's family reunion when Cicely Tyson spoke so eloquently at the end. And she was saying, we're more than our thighs and our hips, and we're more than all of these things. And God only knows, I'm nobody's judge or to sit on a high horse. It's nothing like that. I think for me, though, and you have a daughter, I have three. And when I think of what's presented in the world right now as beauty, and I'm talking about specifically for women of color, I pray for my daughters all the time, because what's presented out there right now as beautiful, it's my hope and my prayer that that's not all that they can identify with in terms of their peers, in terms of what they see on TV. Again, I have no judgment for anybody, but and I have gorgeous, beautiful daughters. But I want them, they're my heart, and I son, and I want him to be a wife, someone that will complement his life. And so when I think about what's out there, and again, thinking about Josephine Baker and thinking about what she presented to the world then, and thinking about kind of where we are now, fast forward, where do you find yourself in terms of beauty that's kind of out there right now, especially referring to women of color?
Well, like I said, it's been pretty consistent for me, like who I am. Now in the world, I will say that young women have a choice of who they're going to use as an example. So there's, Alicia Keys, there's, okay, the Beehive is active, but there's, our vice president, there's Kamala Harris, there's, there's Stacey Abrams, there's, there's so many now choices of what you see. Now, if we're talking about like what's on trend, and what's hot and what's not, and and all of that, I think you were young. You were a lot younger than I am, but I mean, always, young people want to fit in. what is going on. But I think that is where parenting comes in, and allowing young people to process with us and not be so judgmental about it.
Yes.
You know, you better not be out there showing your ass like that, and you just and you know, that's what we do. But in fact, to allow them to process, and there's always a little bit more conservative version of anything that's out there, right? So I just think that that's where you come in, you know, and I come in to let them share their thoughts, you know, experiment and explore some, and not come with a whole. So sometimes Grace comes to me and I'm like, okay, Grace, TMI. La.
Remember, I said I have 3.
Oh my God. So, but at the end, maybe sometimes not in the beginning, we have created a space, a safe space, where ultimately we can talk through something.
Yes.
You know, as opposed to, and then, you know, young people, they have to process. So helping with that early on, like, what do you think? Like, what would you do in a peer group or what? Or like Grace and I had a rule when she was in school in New York, because, you know, there's a lot of walking in New York City, right? I said, okay, Grace, we could have her, here's what we're going to do. You can have either a tight top or tight bottom, but you can't have both. That was my thing. And what I would explain to her is that you mean no harm. You're just being, you know, cool or whatever, but you cannot control what people receive when they see you, what kind of stimulation a man will receive when he sees you that way. That you can't control, even though I know you're in the right place. So it was always the tight top or the tight bottom thing. It actually worked out. She's pretty cool. So I think living in a world that we live in now, and I feel for people who don't have parents, but I think it's a lot about mentoring and parenting, and without judgment, because the judgment brings all that other baggage that we don't want.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, and I know it firsthand. When I look at my daughters, I see myself in them, and there's part of me that wants to be the mama bear, you know. But then there's that other voice in my head, like, Shannon, now you know what you was thinking when you were that age. You know what you was.
I know. So and now with the internet and all that, you know, the stakes are just higher. You know, and it takes more to be outrageous now than it did, you know, even when you were young. And when you know, I mean, I remember my mom clearly saying to me, what is that? Because, you know, back in the, you know, when the Black Rock and, you know, I was just coming of age, you know, in the Jimi Hendrix and all that period. And they had these sheer tops. You could see all the way through, but they had pockets here, you know? So I still to this day think that is the coolest look ever. I love that. You'll see, I love that look. It is so cool. And but I put that on like without a bra, and my mom was like, "Oh no, no, you got no, go put on something." You know, but then that was, you know, really being racy, and you know, a little mini skirt and a see-through blouse, that was being, you know, the midriff and the hot pants. That was it. I mean, it, you know, so every generation has its thing. And it's just that the envelope is getting pushed so far right now to what you can do.
Well, I tell you what, you know, everything that I've seen you in, it's always, you know, like even Crazy Brandy, you know, it's like still there is still a sense of elegance, and there's a sense of character. When you see a lot of actors and actresses, as good as they are, as good as you guys are, you can still see kind of a glimpse of who the person is, because there are certain commonalities in each role that,
Yes.
you know, are unique. You know, you have some actors or actresses that may play the same type all the time. You say, well, that's what you're seeing, but you've played so many different types of roles. In your role with Josephine Baker, did you find any commonalities with her in terms of who Lynn is?
Yes, I had an overwhelming desire to be accepted as an artist. I really, really, I mean, honestly, I thought I'd have, you know, 5 Oscars by now and all that. I mean, I would just watch and love. So I understood her drive. And then I also saw in myself a lack of wisdom about finances.
Hmm.
And when I got put out on the step as Josephine Baker and evicted from, when she was evicted from her home, and when she put life on hold and, you know, had to fill her life and adopt all these kids and everything, you know, I had that kind of ambition. I mean, I never was a person who was okay, I have to have kids, I'm so blessed because I would not be who I am now had I not had grace. I mean, God knows sometimes what's best when we don't. But I could see what her lack of wisdom did to mess her up. And I also didn't have that. I wasn't trained to have, you know, a really solid understanding of finances and financial security. So I could see that it scared the hell out of me. And I could see what happened when she put her life on hold. So when the director, Josephine Baker, said, you know, we should just go get married, and we did not have sex in the work, because this was my biggest opportunity. We had the hugest admiration for each other, because a director is there to protect the performance of an actress, and an actress is there to fulfill the vision of a director. So it's a great kind of artistic marriage. And we thought that it would translate into marriage. So we got this huge, we fell in love. But I knew if I have sex with this man and I'm trying to do this role, it's gonna throw me off. I'm gonna mess up. It's gonna weaken my game, you know? And so that was one of the smartest decisions I made. However, it's why we left Budapest and went straight to England and got married. I mean, literally, I mean, my family, they weren't even there. Nobody, like immediately, we got married that week. So I don't know, that was not, you know, we needed that period of really getting to know each other as human beings, because believe you me, as a wife, the action cut thing, that does not,
Right.
that doesn't quite, you know, translate the same way. So there were tons of life. And also when he said and proposed to me, and I saw what Josephine had done and put off a personal life for so long, and then tried to fulfill herself, I said, you know, this is life. We should do this now, because I experienced what it feels like to put life off, you know, through Josephine. I had just done it with all the aging makeup and all that. It was horrible. in that bonnet and barefoot with the little quilted robe, white people coming and taking you out your house. It was like, oh Lord, with all the kids and everything. So art mirrors life. You learn from art. I mean, that's part of it. You learn what maybe something that's aspirational and what you don't want to do. So it was all very, very interesting that way. Like, what part of me did I see in her? What part I didn't? What part I did not want of her that I did see in me? So it really did help to mold and shape all of the next chapters of my life, because my daughter and I are joined at the hip. We're best friends.
Oh, that is
No, we are. I mean, and we're each other's muses. She pushes me like, Mom, you need to do this, you need to do that. You need to get more on social media. You need to do your own projects. And I'm talking to her. And sometimes it's like we talk so many times a day because she's in New Orleans now working on visuals for her. She's about to drop her music now, you know. Honestly, I was literally yesterday, I think we talked about 8 times because she needed my opinion. I was like, hi, honey. It was like, oh my God. But how grateful am I that we want each other in our lives, you know? And so without Josephine, without that whole experience, that experience now, 30 years later, is oh my God, I'm going to do some sit-ups right now. Really has challenged me, but more than that, gifted me so many things.
Yeah, no, and it's also gifted us to be able to watch that, and not only watch that, but watch your progression, even from then and now, and looking at you still looking as young as ever. Like, you still have like the rest of your career ahead of you, you know.
I told these young girls, I'm not going nowhere. You're right. That's look, just get. I said, no, I'm not. Oh, you're such an icon. I mean, you know, on your shoulders I stand. I said, well, wait a minute now.
Still, you all right? You good?
I have a lot to do yet. I still have things to say.
And which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on Hello Beautiful. I mean, you have an extensive body of work, and if I must say so myself, you should have tons and tons of Oscars. And I mean, you've played so many great.
Oh,
I know in your world and in the Hollywood world that those are aspirations, as anybody would, you know.
of course.
I will say this as a fan and as someone who's followed you all of these years. The lack thereof definitely is not a bearing on your talent and who you are and what you've been able to give to us through your body of work. So if I must say so myself.
Thank you. You know, that's what really keeps me going is the love of storytelling and the what I receive from the people who do appreciate the work, what I'm able to communicate, the service, because I really do feel that, I mean, once you get past all that, you know, ego stuff of like all that, I feel like there's a part of acting that's a service. Like, I'm kind of in the service business as well. So when I get feedback or when someone turns around and well, now with the masking thing, but girl, even with having to wear a mask, people come around the corner in Home Goods. It's like, I knew it was you. I knew it was you. That voice. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God, thank God I have on this fedora and because I have my pajamas on under these sweats. I did not expect to, you know, for somebody to know me. But like now, so that keeps me going. And it's so, you know, gratifying to to hear and to see in someone's actual face the sincerity of proof that they received something from the work, you know? Yeah, so it's, I mean, I am to do something that I really love all these years. There are many more things that I want, but I am such a blessed person to have been able to have a career that I really, you know, what that I enjoy. I mean, there are days, and there were days at Greenleaf, and I think Greenleaf made me a better actress, actually, because, you know, it was churning it out week after week. There were days that it was, you know, so testy. Like, okay, we're in the 15th hour. I'm like, oh God, can I just go? This is just, I'm so exhausted. And so, but for the most part, and there were moments of magic, like the final sermon of Lady Me, that I is like, am I getting paid to do this? This is like, I mean, God shows up, magic happens in something I've always wanted to do. And people, you know, so a blessing. And I might add, I think that's why it's important to encourage young people to find something that they're passionate about, that they want to do. And maybe not just, you know, because sometimes, you know, guidance counselors and parents, they can say, look, you make a good living being a doctor and this and that, and you need to just go on and secure yourself and don't, you know, and that is really important, so important that you find a way to manage your finances, but it's also important early on, before kids have to think of anything like that, if they're blessed to have parents, that we, you know, deposit in them the volition to go and find something that they're passionate to do, because it keeps people off the streets, number one, because you have something you really care about for the most part. And if you get to start exploring early, is this a possibility of something I want for a career, you know? Why are you smiling like that?
Because I'm in awe. I mean, I am. I mean, what you're sharing, I know my audience is so many takeaways from that. And I, this is why I do this, because I think the things, even the finance part, because people don't realize, and if there's ever a lesson in anything, looking at all that Josephine Baker accomplished, and then, you know, to see where she ended up in the end,
Oh,
lesson to all of us. It is.
yes.
Oh, I mean, I know there's going to be some great takeaways from what you had to share, just people being able to identify with what you're sharing, and it resonate with them within their lives, that can encourage them to be their best selves. And kind of brings us into what our theme is for this season of defining self-love. How does Lynn define self-love?
Oh, the definition of self-love is accepting myself where I am, and nurturing myself to be more of all I can be. So it's really hard to love yourself when you're beating yourself up. So, and criticizing yourself, and, you know, the little voices in your head saying you're less than, or why does she have all this and I only have this, and why is that over there and this over there, and okay, you cannot really love yourself when you're doing that, though you might think you're doing so, because it closes your heart to hearing and feeling what your next steps are. Because your next steps are only yours. They're nobody else's next steps. They're only yours. So loving myself where I am and nurturing myself to move forward. And nurturing, what does that mean? That means, am I quieting myself enough, or, praying enough, meditating? Am I allowing the outer world to just have me spinning and always responding? Am I doing the things that I need to do to like what I see? Are there things that you want to do to take care of what you want to be? So that's where the nurturing yourself to be all you can be. It's mostly in your practices and in many areas of life. And at the end of the day, loving myself is knowing that I am God's child. So, and God is king. So I got to at least be a princess. And if I can kind of, put God in the mix of all of that and receive some direction and reminders, because, the better angels are always there, as well as, God's the devil's little elves trying to, mess you up and, throw some banana peels. And remember, when you're just about to hit your stride. So, but, when you're hearing the better angels, right, you'll say, what? You'll be able to about to hit that little banana peel and say, oh, I thought I saw something. Let me step around that one. So it's, but it's constant. There is no arrival, and then it just stays there, and then it's always there. If I could tell you anything, we never really arrive. It's still constant. I won't call it work, but constant nurturing, constant evaluate, constant adjustments, So just know that it's never going to be like, oh, I can just sit back and not, this is everything, girl. It's everything. I'm everything, because you're everything today and not much tomorrow. So it's a constant thing throughout life, because now I'm 30 years older than when I did Josephine Baker. So I'm making adjustments, honey, because I had these decades coming. I was like, what is going on here? Well, where do I fit in? This is new, everything is new. You have your first kid, that's new. You get your first job, that's new. You get your promotion, that's new. That's a new position. There are adjustments to be made. You get a husband. Oh my God, that's new. When you're really, making a life with somebody, there is no place in life where you just sit and then you don't have to keep evolving. And evolving calls for self-love, being smart, discernment. It goes on and on and on. We could really, literally have talked about this one thing, the ever-moving landscape of life and always making adjustments. It's like, that tightrope thing. When you see people walking a tightrope, you're always adjusting things. So, but that's what self-love is, but it doesn't stop. If you're able to do it this month, it doesn't mean that something's not going to come and throw you off your game that comes up next month that you have to readjust. But I find that when people think it's all done, God, what else? I just did it all. Well, no, it just never stops. That's what life is. God brought us here to walk through this towards the light, and darkness is always throwing you some curves.
No, but I like that adjustment. I mean, and that's the takeaway. Being able to adjust to whatever. Life is going to bring you great things, and life's going to bring you not so great things, but just being able to.
And the reset is loving yourself and nurturing yourself to the next thing.
It's beautiful. Absolutely. Well, what I will do is take us into the last part that I do in all of my interviews, and that's word association.
Oh, okay.
And whatever pops up, then you just tell me what comes to mind.
Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Greenleaf.
Oh, family.
Family.
Diversity.
Lady May.
Queen.
Josephine.
Oh, trendsetter.
Brandy.
Hurt.
Grace.
Gift.
Beauty.
Inner.
Life.
Roller coaster.
Love.
Everything.
And the most important one, Lynn.
Excited.
So that is absolutely awesome. 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 Tell us how we can find you.
Oh, you can find me on Miss Lynn Whitfield on Instagram, across all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm most active on Instagram now and just learning all this. So talk to me, come follow me, check out what's been going on the last year. Some of it is pretty entertaining.
Awesome. And do you have any current projects you're working on?
I'm trying to get my courage together to really be out there. I did a cameo in this film called Vacation Friends because it was right here and it was easy. And now I really am evaluating, reteaming up, staffing up my team, like what I want to do, because I want to do something different. I want to, maybe the next time I talk to you, you'll say, God, you usually have this like elegance in most of your characters. And this was like so different, So I really am ready to do some more edgy work.
Okay.
And I'm kind of sitting back a bit and evaluating, that, because I don't want to just jump in and do something. I really want to be excited. What, my association with Lynn was excitement. I mean, I really want to be excited about what I do next. And I want to see some new ground in my artistry.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to it. And I'll be so we get past all this pandemic business so that I can come to your next premiere and just.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yes, I am too. But girl, I think these companies are figuring out how reasonable it is to do this. It terrifies me.
Cheap. I know, right?
No, I did not say that. And don't you dare say that.
No, we didn't say that either. We didn't say that. No, but I tell you what, whatever it is, I will continue to follow you. You are extraordinary. You're beautiful. You're talented. You have so much to offer to this world. You've already given us so much. And I know you have so much more to give. So I thank you for sharing your heart. I thank you for sharing Josephine with us. And I'm hoping that a whole new generation will be able to see that and appreciate, who she was and understand and learn and grow from that. But I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I didn't know what to expect. And it was really an in-depth, meaningful interview. Thank you for that.
I'm so glad that's what I aim for, and just want all of my guests to feel comfortable in their own skin and just to be able to just share your heart. We aim to just show the beauty of us really from the inside out. You
Yeah.
know, inside is what should really make us beautiful on the outside. So I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I want you to stay blessed. I want you to stay encouraged, and I want you to stay inspired to your greatest self. So thank you for joining us here at Hello Beautiful.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you so much.
On the next episode of Shannon Ayers Speaks, we are excited to meet the beautiful Deborah Joy Winans.